Sometimes the days get so long, so I just close my eyes. Far away is where I'll be. So if you need to find me, I'll be on my own. I can't tell you why, it just feels like home. Sometimes I feel so young. Sometimes I feel so old. But if I close my eyes, I feel you standing here with me, and I'll be on my own. I can't tell you why, it just feels like waking up, go to work, and I hear the birds singing, but they're not really there. slip right in the bed. Gotta find a way to stop these thoughts from racing through my brain. Waking up the next day just to do it again. Oh, it's so nice living my life behind the screen all the time. Oh, it's so nice living behind the screen.
Go.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome to Friday. I hope you all had a great week. We had a good week this week, and were we here last Friday?
No. It's
Okay,
raining.
yeah. Last Friday I was very much under the weather, or was that the Friday before?
It was raining and you were under weather.
Okay, so yes, so that's what it was. I have fibromyalgia, so the weather is not very nice to me when it's raining. So I went into a flare up and decided just to stay in bed instead. So we're back, and we have Larry with us. Bob was going to be with us tonight, but he's got laryngitis. And Larry was going to come on next Friday, but he's here. We're swapping them around a little bit.
Aren't you lucky?
We also have Junior in the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on cue. I love
Right
that.
on
Yeah.
cue.
Yeah.
He's in here doodling. So I hope everybody had a great week. We did. And just not real happy with the weather. The weather has not been very kind to us. I'm sick and tired of rain. And I'm sick and tired of hearing, oh, we still need rain. I'm sorry, but I don't know where you live, but we don't need rain. I'm done. Tonight, I don't know, acceptance and forgiveness. I was at a meeting last night, and the topic was acceptance and forgiveness. And that's a hard one because, we're not going to accept bad behavior. However, when our loved one is actively using or active in whatever bad behavior, what is acceptable and what isn't. And, for our loved ones that are suffering, on the same token, what are you willing to accept from the family side of it? And I think it's a hard one because you don't want to accept the bad behavior. But when they're in the throes of it, if you're letting them do what they're doing to you,
Yep.
You're accepting that bad behavior without boundaries and consequences. We're accepting that behavior.
Yeah. Let them walk all over you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. If you set up on the other side, on your side, people, it's, if you're going to let me walk all over you, I'm pretty much going to do it too. Mm-hmm. Even though in my heart, I might say, oh, I know this is wrong, and I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
And as far as my end of it goes, acceptance, as part of being the raging alcoholic I am. Well, I could say I was, but I'm always going to be an alcoholic. I had to accept. I had to learn to accept what they thought about me, what they wanted to do about me, and most of it, well, obviously, was rejection. They wanted to have nothing to do with me, and I couldn't blame them. All I did was drink and feel sorry for myself. Until I accepted myself that I needed change. That nothing's going to nothing happens and nothing happens if I don't get to work. On changing my life, turning it around. It's going to be the same old thing. They're going to reject me, and I'm going to pity myself and just get drunk and thinking everybody's fault but mine. When obviously it was my fault, nobody else's. So you have to accept the consequences. Both sides have to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Have to protect yourself.
And right now I'm following Smart Recovery, and that was one of the topics last night was acceptance and forgiveness. And I left my book inside, but I had sent this to somebody. It says acceptance, another powerful tool for improving our ability to function and be happy, is the one of acceptance. Often we stay stuck in our emotional upsets because we do not know how to resolve the gap between our expectations and what is actually happening. We may have an expectation that our child will grow up to lead an happy and productive life, and when that doesn't happen, the gap between our expectations and the reality of our children's choices is difficult for us to resolve. We only may have to be expectations that our spouse will be a loving and supportive partner, only to be dismayed by the reality that the addiction makes that difficult or impossible. We stay stuck waiting for something to change to resolve the situation. It seems paradoxical, but acceptance of what is a
Prerequisite?
Yes.
Okay, hey, I guess
It's
right.
not
Hey.
coming out for change. Acceptance should not be confused with approval. It does not imply liking the mean, accepting the reality of the situation or the other person's behavior. He's here. Yeah. No matter how objectional, once you have accepted the reality of the situation, you are in a much better position to deal with it effectively, creatively, positively, and in a way that best benefits you. So, we're going to accept the behavior because it's not going to change until they're ready to change it. But we need to accept the fact that it's going to continue. And with that, how do we, work on that acceptance? We have to get creative in ways to, in ways for us to be able to deal with their, the way they're acting, and figure out tools that will help us be able to live with what they're doing. We don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
But we have to know that until they're ready to change, we have to find a different way to allow ourselves to live a better life. and to be able to live a life that we can, relate to, and let them do what they need to do while
Yeah.
they're out there being who they are at that time. A lot of times they don't realize what it is that they're doing. So we have to figure out a way to accept the behavior to keep ourselves from the insanity of all of it.
Yeah. It's a heck of a tightrope too. To
Yeah.
walk too.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning. Yeah. I can only imagine that, how confusing, and frustrating it must be for, of course, from my end, I see what I've done to my family and friends and all, and especially my family, how frustrating it was for them to walk that tightrope and not know what to say, what to do, and the frustration turns to anger 9 times out of 10, and for all the promises and all the good-hearted things I love to say, and especially in the beginning, it was all 99% BS, and after a while, that no matter what I said, they weren't listening. They weren't
Right.
listening at all because because I was a liar. Let's face it, I was a drunken liar, and now they had to make up their own boundaries. They had to do what they needed to do to pretty much protect themselves. Like my wife threw me out of the house. Not only protect herself, but my kids too. They were early teens, and they saw pretty much. They saw totally what I was, and in hindsight, it was better for my kids in the end too, that I wasn't there. They didn't have to see me day in, day out, wondering like, all right, who's coming home tonight? What personality we're going to deal with tonight? Good, bad, indifferent. And I wasn't. The one thing I could say, I was never a yeller. I never come in yelling and screaming, but I was kind of the opposite. If I came in quiet, they knew something was up. They absolutely knew. It's okay. He's not saying anything. He must be drinking again. Of course, the bloodshot eyes had nothing to do with it either. But yeah,
Yes.
after a while. So out the door I went until I found, got off my rear end and started doing recovery. People people stayed away from me. Even after a couple of years, they'd say, oh, great, 2 years, whoopee. What are you going to do for me now? Just keep going now, It's been over 6 years and things are better now. And, even my wife is starting to talk to me again. But the divorce is still going through. It's just like, I'm not going back to that again. It's done. When it's done, it's done. There's no hallmark happy ending.
Right.
I ruined that relationship, and I'm surprised she's even talking to me. I mean, she called me, and it was like, I was lying in bed, ready to go into bed, and the phone rang, and I saw who it was. I said, "What?" And she asked me how I was doing and stuff like that, and so well, my daughter had to talk with her too. I have to admit that. So it was kind of through my daughter that she called me, and so talking a couple of weeks, and in August it's going to be my son-in-law's, I think, 50th birthday, and I'll be there, but my ex-wife never goes to any of the family things. Then it kind of aggravated my daughter, saying, this you're part of this family too. I don't know why you just stay home all the time, and that's the worst thing you could anybody, drink it or not, be alone all the time. Hey, just go out and get some fresh air, do something.
Yeah.
Don't be in that cave, man. Bar the doors.
Now, does she stay in because of COVID and got used to it and?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you because I haven't talked to her in years.
Right.
It's been absolute years. But I think it's more of a mental issue, more than a physical worry about COVID thing. And I think she just went into seclusion and didn't want to see anybody, talk to anybody, and and that's pretty much, I think what the problem was. And because my son, my daughter, they invite her out, do things, go. Sometimes she goes out. Sometimes she goes to my daughter's house. If there's something happening, she'll cook and help or whatever. But it's very rare, and at least it's something. But I wish she would get out more.
Yeah.
Just more to life than just being hung up. Hey, a situation,
Right.
is
Well,
over. So
now that you're talking, maybe you'll be able to help her. You
Yeah.
know? I mean that's what it is. And we were discussing this last night as well, during our meeting, because how much changes when you're going through something like this with people that you knew before the addiction, reached your family. What was going on and how it was going on. So it's weird because you have two different types of families. You have your friends that you were really close with, that you did things with. And it's just like, you know, once they're going through the school and they're going through the sports, you're so close, you're with each other all the time. So if it's not a school function, it's a sports function, you're watching your kids grow, they're growing together, and then you're affected by addiction. And some of your close friends stick with you. Some of them stay with that whole journey. You won't have the relationship that you used to have,
yeah,
but it'll be a different relationship, a different kind of relationship, and more of an acquaintance type thing. But again, even still, when the kids go off to college or the kids, aren't doing the sports and doing the school anymore, you kind of grow apart anyway. And like, I don't know about other schools or whatever. Like my son, when he went to school, elementary and middle school, everybody are coming from the same schools.
yeah,
And then high school, sets in. And well, I guess middle school separated because it was different areas coming into the middle school. And then high school comes, and he chose to go to the tech school. And so some of his friends went to the high school, some of them went to the tech school. So you have that separation again. You have them meeting new friends, you have them meeting different activities. And you're kind of losing the childhood friends because everybody's going their own way. And when it's addiction, it's, people feel weird and awkward. Like, oh, not intentionally, I don't think anyway, but they just don't know what to say. They don't know how to act when you're around. And if you really are wanting to help your loved one, you start going to support groups, you start going to anything that has to do with addiction, and you start meeting new people, you start meeting new friends, and now you have a second family. So and the more you're doing in that community, the further you're growing from your old life.
yeah.
And we just all grow. It's just what we do. But it's hard when you run into somebody that you used to be close with, and oh, hi, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. How your kids, how's your wife doing or whatever. And it's like, oh, good. Like,
Yeah.
they really mean well, but and
It's pretty awkward.
Yeah.
At times, yeah.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mine's going to school for this. They got into the best college. Hey, when you're going through addiction, you know, I think the biggest thing is someone going through it and then coming out on the other side and doing well. I think that's a bigger accomplishment than anything, because that is a very tough thing to do.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do at all. It's a very difficult, hard journey. So, Eric says hello, Larry. Marge says hello. And but yeah, that was one of the things that we were discussing last night, because our lives change. And acceptance and whatever. Where's your YouTube? It's just doing things differently. And
For me, it was like
just doing things
that. For me, it was like, yeah, I got back, but like, is it a major accomplishment? I don't know. I think it was like, I was here, I sunk down to here, and now I'm back up here again. So for me, it's like it's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, going through where I was to where I am now, but I feel like I'm back on level ground, not any higher. I just feel like I was sunk so low. Now up here, I'm an even keel with everybody else. I'm happy. I could say I'm proud for what I did, because compared to where I was before, but I don't like to over glorify it. Like, look at me, everybody.
Right, I did it. I'm the king. And I don't think loved ones that are coming out of that hell glorifies it like the family members, of how proud we are, because we've seen what it was that it took to get out of that hole, that hell, and rebuild a life from the bottom and up in such a short time. And it takes a lot of work for the family to get where they need to in this. And again, that acceptance of the mess that they have made of their lives, trying to get back all of that from their addiction. We have to find some way to accept what they're doing. They're not doing it intentionally to us. They feel that they're only hurting themselves, number one. If we don't accept and find a way to get past what they're doing to themselves, we're going to get stuck in that and let it continue. With accepting what they're doing and trying to find a way to accept it and get past it is the hardest part of the work for us, is trying to figure out how we can just go on with our lives while they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
tough.
it's hard. It's building trust again, and that is a really difficult thing once that trust is broken.
Yeah.
And
My alcoholism is your alcoholism too, whether you like it or not. And that's just the way it goes.
mm-hmm.
Because I made a complete mess of myself. It's like I draw a magnet. I draw the family and friends in and drag them down with me.
Right.
They get all confused. Or they get angry, or they get sad. They get everything but even keel.
Mm-hmm.
Even like the parent group and all, everybody looks for help and information to try to get themselves on some kind of even plane and acceptance of what the addict, what the alcoholic is going through, what they can do to try to help themselves too, because it's tough. I mean, from the meetings that I've been to, I get to learn what their side of the story. Yeah, sure, I hurt my family and everybody, but how did I hurt them? What was the root cause? Oh, sure, I hurt you, but how did I hurt you? What did I do to hurt you? Just it was more than just drinking too. You know, Drinking led to the lying, maybe to the stealing, and to whatever other we'll just call it criminal activity that went on. Especially the lying. It and fooling nobody. But it was easy in the beginning. Sure, you could lie and get away with it, but time after time after time after time, you go home looking all droopy and oh this and oh that, and it's like yeah, sure, okay. So it gets so frustrating. He says we don't want you around anymore. Bye.
Right.
See you.
And the guilt and the shame that comes with it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we were discussing last night. Like, are they feeling guilt and shame while they're in it? No, I'm sure that it's not while you're in it. It's when you're away from it and you had time, some clean time, some I guess sober time that you're like, oh shit,
Yeah. Well, it depends too on the person. At times I was the boohoo drunk. Poor me. I don't want to do this, and I feel I hurt everybody. Have another one. It's just
right. It's numbing that pain
Yeah.
that keeps
I feel guilty, but I'm not stopping.
right.
I know I hurt everybody, but I'm not stopping.
Right, because you need a drink to stop that feeling, to
Yeah.
stop that hurt and that
Drown those feelings.
yeah. And that's addiction.
Yeah.
Trying to get away from it, trying to break out of that situation. So totally get that. That's something that you need to work on, and I'm sure that is something that is the hardest thing for the addict to face, like feeling those feelings.
Yeah.
Getting back to life and feeling all that life that's coming at you.
Yeah.
You know, it's great when you're numb and you're covering it all up
Oh yeah.
because you're not hurting anybody. You're calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there.
So totally not with it. That's just it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally not with it. Just
Right.
in that fog.
Yes. Another thing they were doing is trust and forgiveness. Addictive behaviors typically include deception, false promises, broken promises, and dishonest behaviors. You may want to believe what your loved one wants you to believe, that he is all right, that the addiction is not a problem, but she didn't take money from your purse, that this time he really is quitting. But over time, as you uncover deceptions and experience broken promises again and again, the evidence that your loved one is not entirely trustworthy may become overwhelming. You might quite possibly find that the untrustworthy behaviors extend beyond the addiction and affect other areas of your life with your loved one.
Gee, that sounds familiar.
So we can explore different ways to rebuild that trust. Lost trust is a common issue for family and friends. A loved one with an addiction, they experience feelings of disappointment, frustration, hurt, and anger over the loved one's behavior. They may find themselves walking on eggshells, unable to trust their ability to predict their loved one's emotional responses. They may be concerned for their financial security or their physical safety as they are unable to trust their loved one to be respectful of their needs in these areas. The consistently unreliable and untruthful communication that often accompanies addiction has an enormous emotional impact on friends and family, one that takes a long time to heal. And that is,
Yeah.
you have the family that is dealing with this, they're in their going to bed and they're sitting there and grabbing their purse and hiding it under pillows or hiding it in a closet or hiding it under the bed because they know that,
Yeah.
if it's not locked up, more than likely it's going to
Yeah.
disappear.
Even all the good intentions, it's,
Right.
I'm
And
an
it-
alcoholic. I have all the good. I wouldn't dare do that. But when that urge hits, you'd be
Right.
surprised, justifying it or just not even justifying. Yeah, I know. I don't care. I'm lying to cheat, and I'm going to grab that money and I'm going to go get what I need.
Right.
And then, yeah, sure, I'll feel guilty later. But after I'm half buzzed, yeah, oh, I feel so sorry for me.
Right.
Yeah, no wonder, Gee, they don't trust me. I can't imagine why.
Right.
Yeah, and it took literally years of going, to rehabs and recovery houses and the meetings and the step work and all the stuff I needed to do. Other people can go to one meeting a week. I go to 2 a day. Sometimes, well, 3 on a Friday. A meeting here. I come here. I have a meeting in the morning and a Zoom meeting at night. So that's 3 things. And usually it's like Monday. It's Monday's 2. Tuesday's 1. Wednesday's 2. Thursday's 1. Friday's a 3. And then Saturday and Sunday there are 1 each. So, hey, maybe I don't need them, but I'm comfortable at them, and so far so good. I don't know what else I'd be doing. So it's all for the better. Plus, I could share my story with somebody else because this last meeting I was on at 7:00, there were a lot of younger, not age-wise, but time and recovery-wise, people coming in, and you share their story like, oh, it's all the people who have time, and it helps them too, and it helps me. They say, "Oh, it helps you too." And I never believed that in the beginning, but it does kind of help me too. Especially when people, if I had something to share with, and people say, "Yeah, like Larry said this," and I understand that, and it makes you feel like, oh, maybe I got a message across to this person, and this is just another step, no matter how small, that'll help this person, in recovery, and get on that sobriety thing. But go ahead.
Mary Rose says, I wonder, as being a loved one of an addict, when will I learn to set those boundaries? When will I learn enough is enough? When my loved one gets clean, still in back of my mind, but somehow I just go back to trying to make hour by hour.
No.
You'll learn to set those boundaries when you've had enough, when you just know you cannot take anymore. You have to get to that point. Something drives you to that point. Education on addiction is probably the best tool that we have. It's time. It's
Yeah.
it's really time. We have to learn how to separate ourselves from the addict and love our loved one,
Yeah.
because they're in there. They are in there. It's just that they're being held hostage by the drug of choice, by the substance they're putting in their body. They don't want to be doing it. They just don't know how to stop it. And, until they get to that point that they're sick and tired, it's just going to be the same thing. I hear what you both have said and I relate, but also feel like I'm the one carrying the shame, guilt, and all the feelings and hold it in. Then boom, a big event comes and he's gone. We do. We sit and the guilt, the shame, and everything, because what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? I gave the best, childhood. I gave the best that I had, and love them the best that I could. It doesn't have, it has nothing to do with that.
Nothing whatsoever. No. Yeah, yeah. It's like you said, it's like when you had enough, and you had to start working on yourself. It's just addiction in a different direction. You know, you're the addict without the addiction. I mean, and I'm the alcoholic who had the problem, and like and trust. Trust comes with time, and you'll I guess in my case you'll feel comfortable when at a certain time you'll know when things are starting to work better, when you're going to see it change. Well, like in that person, like my family saw in me. you know like I said, it took a couple years with the rehab and all that stuff to get even to get started. And even then, like, I say minimum 2 years. I was in the same boat. I was still living by myself. Nobody would call me or talk to me. As time went on, talk a little bit here, a little bit there. As time went on, the trust started to build. And the more, I showed, that I was sincere this time, that I wanted to be sober, that I wanted them back in my life, then the trust started to build. So, I guess from the other side, it's like, you're going to have to wait and see, how sincere. I mean, let's face it, 99% of the time, it's a family thing. And, especially if the adult is dealing with a younger person, a sibling, a child or something like that. Child, I'm 71 years old, child. I'm a senile delinquent, you could say. And, but to build that trust, it's going to take time. People see the change in personality, the change, how I look on the outside, how I act on the outside. And then as time goes on, a person will see the difference in me from especially, they knew me before when I was at the bottom, all my feelings and emotions and love or whatever I had was sitting at the bottom under an ocean of alcohol until I got rid of that, had to drain that and bring all those things, all the pluses in my life back up to the surface and do it and continue to do it. It's going to take time. It's just going to take time.
He needs to find that time. She says, I know they said it's not the addict against me or the kids. It's more themselves. But on kids' birthdays, how I feel like I educate myself, but I'm the stupid one. You're not stupid.
No.
You're not.
There's nothing to do with stupidity.
It doesn't. It has to do with, number one, their biggest tool to keep us second guessing is manipulation. I mean, and they're going to tell you what you want to hear to get what they need to get their next substance in them. And you have to remember that you are addicted to him. He is your drug. She could be your drug. Like whoever it is that's your loved one, that you are chasing your substance with it, which is your loved one. And you see that how your life spins out of control because we're so focused on them, we forget about us. We totally forget about us. And when they are ready to get better, they will. It's just up to them to find when it's time. Yes, Eric says that's what makes this work, Mary. Sharing is relating and growing. And that is it. Like I'm in my group almost 8 years. My loved one's 7.5 years in recovery. And I continue to go back because I learn. I learn from, hearing the other people in our meetings, and just it helps me know that tomorrow's never promised. It's just never promised. We don't know what the future's going to hold for our loved ones. This is a disease that they live with for the rest of their lives. There is no cure for it, but it is manageable. Whether you are doing a MAT program, whether you're doing an abstinence program, you can manage it just like diabetes,
Insulin.
insulin.
No, or
I'm telling
insulation,
you,
whatever Mark said.
insulation, insulin, is what manages their diabetes. So we just have to look at it like that. And, we have to remember that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of the other members in our family, and not let them get lost in all of this while all of our focus is on our loved one that is battling this substance use. So how you do that, you start doing things for yourself. And I was just telling them last night, and start out big, because you're not going to be able to start out small. Take time for yourself. Take time for the other loved ones in your family. Focus on that. That's all good, because your loved one is not caring what's going on at home. They don't care that you're pacing, back and forth, wondering where they are. Are they okay? Are they alive? They don't know that you stopped eating because just you're so twisted inside, because you don't know where they are, you don't know what they're doing, and you don't know if you're going to get that phone call. They're focused on themselves. They are focused on their substance. We need to focus on ourselves and our health, because if we don't, we end up sick. We end up with ulcers. We end up with stress-related illness. And we're sitting in a hospital bed, and then our loved one calls, "Hey, listen, I'm ready for help. I've had enough. I've been trying to get into treatment. I can't find any. Can you help me?" Are you going to help them? No, you can't. You're in a hospital bed. And that's where we have to say, okay, I'm only giving my loved one an hour of thought. Like, that's it. And then I'm going to focus on, Shirley that needs to get to ballet. Tommy needs to get to baseball. That's our focus. That's our focal point. The ones that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And, and you keep trying every day. Knock out, 10 minutes a week, a day, till you're thinking about your loved one that is actively using for maybe 10 minutes. And focus. Do meditation. I'm telling you, seriously, do meditation. Don't just listen to it and say, "Oh, okay, it's not working for me." It's not working if you don't let it really come in and embrace you. Praying to whoever you need to pray for. I don't care. This isn't a religious program at all. This is not, recovery is not religious, even though God is all over the place with it, but it is not religious. It is spiritual.
Yes, definitely.
It's definitely, when you reach out to the people that are in recovery, what a beautiful, beautiful resource to have. People that have been through it and that are doing well and succeeding.
Need to talk. If you stay by yourself, if you stay at home and let it eat away at you, that's one of the worst things you could do. Find a group, or I don't know about a trusted friend or anything like that, but I found that with me too, it's like getting it out. Writing it down was fine. Doing my, amends and writing down, doing the steps and all, but getting it out was even better. It worked for me more, more than the writing it down because it was out of my head, out there, and it's done. It's out in the open for everybody to see and hear. And sure, I'm ashamed of a lot of things I did, but everybody knew what I did. And what the shocking thing is, I wasn't alone. There were other people, did the same or pretty close to the same things or different that they were ashamed of. And they got it out, and it just lifted that weight right off my back. Yeah.
And if you have support groups in that you can go to, you reach out to whatever you need to reach out to, because the best thing in the world that you can do is be with like people that are going through the same thing, because you can't tell your girlfriend some of the things that are going through your mind, because they're going to look at you, if they don't have anybody that's suffering from this disease, they're going to look at you like, why would you even say that about your loved one? Because there are some things that, we're just so done. We're just so over it, because they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over without looking at the harm and the hurt that they're causing. So you have to get that support wherever that support is. I don't care if you're a family member and you go to Nar-Anon, Al-Anon, Smart Recovery, Celebrate Recovery, Buddha Recovery, whatever it is that gets you through each day and gives you the support that is needed through this. Get phone numbers, get suggestions. That's the most important, and try the suggestions. If the suggestion that you thought would work doesn't, then take another one.
Yeah.
Leave the things you don't think is going to work for you behind. But I think the most important thing is we're always combative, and we're so angry and frustrated, and we take it out at the wrong moments. We need to stop and step back and say, listen, this isn't getting us anywhere. Screaming, hollering, calling each other names.
Just getting all tensed up and
Yeah.
waiting for something, an ulcer or a heart attack.
Yes. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to bed. You're not going to sleep. Your mind's going to be racing all night, and they're going to go out, get high, and could care less what you're going through at home. Could care less.
Yeah.
And you're the one sitting there with all that anxiety. That's when you say, you know what? I love you. I wish for you, good health and getting the help that you need. I am not the person that's going to get you there, but there are places and people out there that can take you there. And until that happens, we're just going to keep going through the same roller coaster. You have a choice. Buy a ticket, get on the ride and get off, or buy the wristband and stay on it with them going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Until you're in the hospital. And that's what is going to happen. I've seen it over and over and over again. That's why talking to people that understand what you're going through is the most important thing.
Yeah. And back to the religion thing. It's like some people, I've talked to people because I go to traditional meeting, 3 times a week in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And people have talked to priests and, their ministers and stuff like that. That's their way. Everybody has their own way of dealing with it, but the thing is to deal with it. You have to deal with it. I'm not a God person. Anybody knows me, spiritually, something, whatever, God help me to get on my way. Great, I'm not going to give it a name. I don't know if it has a name or if there even was anything, in that.
Is she
But-
hot?
Oh yeah, I wish. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She has all her teeth too. Yeah, okay, and just whatever it takes. People take different routes. Like the tradition meeting I go to, a lot of people, talk about, that I found a God, but they never say it was a Jesus or a Jewish or a Muslim God. They found a God. And some people don't, some people don't like the Catholic thing, but they call it God. Hey, that's fine. It's working for them. It's getting them sober. It's getting their life back together.
Backwards
And
it's dog.
what's that?
Backwards it's dog.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. It's like, oh, brother, yeah, it's BS about, but and the meeting I go to tonight, and I go on my Zoom meetings, are agnostic. It's sobriety without mentioning God. I mean, they had some, you'd be surprised. You have the 12 and 12 book, but there are other groups who have their own 12 steps, and some only have 6 steps.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is,
It's finding that step.
it's finding that step. It's getting that progress. It's getting a life back together. So, I don't, I'm not bad mouthing the God thing. Some people say, oh, you're anti this and that. No, I'm not anti anything, especially in recovery. If it gets you sober, fine. Just don't browbeat me with the religion thing,
And my uncle always said, if you got to believe that doorknob is going to get you through that next hour, that next minute, that next day, then guess what? There's your God. The doorknob is your God.
Yeah.
And he was raised Catholic,
Yeah, so was I.
So.
Not anymore. But yeah. But that's another story for another time. We won't get into that. Yeah. Talk about recovery, not about religion. Yeah.
Right.
So, whatever it takes, and that's the bottom line for the addict, the alcoholic, and for the people who are suffering because of them. People go to church and they get fine. They talk to their priest or minister or rabbi, whatever you want to call it, whatever collar they wear, and if it works for you, it works. And some people don't talk to anybody in the religious community. They go to a therapist or whatever they need to do. But doing something, you have to do something. If you sit there and let it eat you and eat you and eat you, just like the alcohol ate at me and so I finally got fed up and said, this is it. Do I want to drink and die real fast and have nobody, have no life, have no family, have no loved ones, or do I want to work this and really work it and stay with it and stay with it? And I picked the sobriety way. Mm-hmm. Boy, I'm glad I did too.
Right. And everybody has their own path. Like, everybody takes their own direction. And I'm sure he won't mind me sharing this. I hope he doesn't. If he does, I'm sure I'll get a phone call afterwards. But I mean, my mother shared his story. So, but my stepfather, he never went to rehab, and he was read his last rites. He was dying because of alcohol, and he ended up in the hospital, last rites, the whole 9 yards, and ended up finding his own path through church. Like, he watches this show every Friday. I'm guessing they're watching today. They're always watching, so I'm sure they're there. But I mean, this is you have to find what fits for you, just as well as the family needs to. Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, I did it. I tried it. I like a lot of their literature, but I don't, just like the Bible. Like, everybody reads the Bible, and you have so many different denominations and interpretations.
Yeah.
So I like the literature, but I take from, and I'm just an all around, I take from Al-Anon, I take from Nar-Anon, I take from Smart Recovery. I love Smart Recovery, and I love the craft program. Like, I love the bomb program. They teach us how to be more loving with our loved ones, where Narnon and Al-Anon are like specifically just for you. Like, don't vent, don't bitch, don't holler, and don't, talk about your loved one, because that's not what we're here for. Where other places, they're still, it's about you, but vent and see what suggestions we can help you with. That's why my program is the family group at Livingren. I have been there almost 8 years and I love it. Like, it's crosstalk. You can go in and you can bitch, you can cry, you can scream, and
God, I
we
hope
have a
something like that.
caller.
Hope it's not my wife's lawyer.
No, it's my mother. Hello, caller.
Hello, daughter.
Hello.
You're telling on us, huh?
Uh-huh. Yes. But I just want everybody to know that there's other ways to get on the other side of all of this. And unfortunately, sometimes it's the hardest way.
Yeah. Anyway.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 2 out of 3.
Do you want to know the reason we watch your show on Friday?
And why is that?
Because we're proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. And
No dice tonight.
no, we played this afternoon.
Okay,
I'm
love
looking
you.
I'm looking for a DA meeting.
Hi, Larry.
Hello, how are you? She
I'm
does do a
fine,
great
how
job.
are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm just rolling along.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah, living life, and things are pretty good for me.
Big Pappy out?
He's just he thinks he's coming down with something, so he doesn't want to be near Larry, because Larry gets all weird about illness.
I mean, I even put deodorant on. I thought, maybe that was the case.
When you get old like
Yeah,
Larry,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
susceptible to a lot of that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, have a good evening, people.
All right,
You
thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
But yeah, I mean, but that's what it is. It's finding that niche. It's finding that program that works for you, whether you are the one that is actively using, whether you're the family member, whether you're a friend. It's finding the niche. It's finding that one thing that's going to help you get through a day, a minute, an hour, a year. Like, that's the most important thing, is the support. And I think, Mary, the more you reach out to people, the more you talk to people, I think the calmer you become. And when our loved ones are in that throe of addiction, we have to remember that, they're doing things to keep themselves from getting sick. It's not about the high anymore. It's about keeping and being well, and not feeling the pain that comes from the withdrawal. And, showing them kindness. I remember first starting out in the group, like going into the group, and you would hear, and trust me, like, I was a bubbling idiot, like bawling my eyes out, snot crying, like I was horrible, because all I saw was death. And all I was hearing is, throw your loved one out, throw your loved one out, throw your loved one out. And I'm like, these people are nuts, man. They've lost their absolute mind. Like, why would I throw out the one person that I would do anything for to keep alive? And after like the 5th meeting, I was apparently I was listening and they were getting into my head. They weren't telling me to throw them out. They were telling me that they have choices
Yeah.
to stay and live the lifestyle that we expect of them, or to live the lifestyle that they've become accustomed to. Again, that's something you have to be able to live with.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying, set that boundary if you know you're not going to live with it.
Yeah. It's just like you're talking about throwing out, but they really didn't mean throwing out. It's setting up that boundary, like you said, like, this is my house. This, how many times have you said that? This is my, when we talk at the meetings, this is my house. These are the rules. If you're not going to do the rules, you're not going to be in my house. And sticking by that. And I'm going to reiterate, the more you talk to other people, like at these meetings, the easier it becomes. The rope isn't that tight. The nerves aren't wound that tight. You can get it out. You can feel relief. And, slowly but surely, you become a calmer person, you become a smarter person too. Because you hear other people's stories and you pick up on things that, that you might like and say, I can use that for my boundary, my recovery, whatever it needs, my safety. But to stay alone, be alone, and just have it, close in on you, it's not good. I always, since I, like I went through all the stuff I do, I find it absolutely great just to go and speak my mind, say what I have to say, if it helps somebody, fine. If it doesn't, that's fine. It's going to help me. And it goes, like I said, I say it over and over again. It goes on both sides. Don't keep it in. Don't wind yourself tight. Get out, talk. If you need to write it down or journal, like, Lori says, journal. Write it down. Get it out.
Get it out any way you can. And another thing, and, a lot of people will go through the steps for their families. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But every time that they do it, even for the family, their seeds being planted. They're hearing something that is resonating. They're hearing something that clicks with them. And it could be, the first rehab, it could be the 10th. It doesn't matter. Each one they attend, each meeting they attend, they're getting something from it. And the important thing is that they stay, into it somehow. And once they get that 28 days, and now it's time to leave the rehab, which scares them to death, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Times they're scared to death to leave because they have been in that little bubble where the outside world, life isn't getting in the way of their recovery. So then they come out, life starts hitting them on life's terms.
Yeah.
Now the shit starts going around in their head, and the next thing you know, they're at the dealer's house and, they're back at it again. Staying connected, getting out, doing the IOP, doing the GOP. And I think the best thing for them is to get into a recovery house in a different area than they are used to. Not that they can't get drugs anywhere, but or alcohol. That's everywhere. But at least they're in a different environment. They're in a different place where there's support. And not every recovery house is great. Not every recovery house works. So many times, it's like, well, they called and there's no food. They called, there's bed bugs. They called, and I'm like,
Cool.
okay.
Yeah. All that bullshit.
Let's see. What wasn't it last week? They were sleeping in an abandoned building with fecal matter everywhere and bugs all over the place. You know, you suck it up, Buttercup, because
Yeah.
this is recovery, and I doubt very much there's bed bugs, and I'm sure there's food. You know, this is what we have to do. These are the boundaries we need to set for our loved ones, because we need them to learn how to live life on life's terms. Because once you get out of that bubble, man, that shit hits you in waves.
Yeah, it's a different reality coming out of rehab. And the first time, you know, between, you know, getting out of there, having that pink cloud thing, you know, like, this is me, oh, I'm happy, everything's great, but life is right here. And pretty soon, they're going to meet, you know, real life is going to meet, then how are you going to handle it? First time, I didn't handle it well at all. So, yeah, sure, I didn't drink for 3 years, but I didn't do anything to help myself either, stay sober. And, you know, then life started hitting me, and I couldn't handle it. It's just like things, doesn't matter how big or little the crisis was, you know, even little things pile up, and you don't get it out. You don't talk to anybody. You don't do anything. What happened? Went back to being probably worse than I was the first time around. Then when I got out of, you know, rehab, the recovery house. Now, recovery house was still the best thing for me because it was like a transition thing. Sure, I got out of, you know, rehab, but I knew from the first time, there's no pink cloud. You know, it's like, for me, it's like, no pink cloud effect here. I knew what happened the first time. You know, the only thing that was different was up here. Do I want this? How bad do I want this? So, I played the good little boy at the recovery, but the recovery place I was great. It was absolutely great. And then the IOP, you know, it's the putting in process. I went to IOP and OP 3 times. You know, first time, you know, my first DUI. The second time, my second DUI. Then when I went to court, you know, they said I had to go again. And so what was I going to do? Oh, I'm not going there. You know, didn't have a car. You know, had to get up like 20. I had to get the 4:20 bus to go to work, then come home to go to IOP and come back, and it's like 10:30 at night. And, you know, it's not whining. It's just the way it was. Do I want to stick with this and do this every day? Well, I did. And it took time. The card comes back, you know, the parole officer, you know, all that other stuff. That's all. That goes all by the board. It just takes time. And,
Things
you know,
I must earn.
yeah, things I must earn. And then things get better. But it depends on, you know, the individual, too. How much do they want it? Some people could come right out of rehab, go right back home, and everything's fine. I couldn't.
A lot of people can go back, you know, come out of recovery and, you know, move back home and go to the same job that they're getting the drugs at. Like we have to stop projecting what we feel they need for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they have to live this life. They have to learn how to live the life on life's terms. And if we keep doing for them what they can do for themselves, they're never going to get out of that cycle. That cycle will just go back and they'll continue doing what they're doing. And it's not a good place for them. So, you know, my biggest thing is a lot of times, especially if they're homeless and on the streets in the big cities, they're seeing a lot of shit. They're seeing a lot of heavy shit that, you know, sits and resonates with them. And they need to get that work done. That work is not being done in most of the rehabs, you know, and even in the dual diagnosis, they only have 28 days to help you. So with it taking 120 days to start changing the brain, 28 days is nothing. 28 days is getting the chemical out of your system. And then the real work starts where you have to start mending the brain. And that's 120 days. And if you're not getting the help that you need outside of, you know, IOP, GOP, you know, talking to a therapist. I highly suggest a therapist before dealing with a psychiatrist, because a psychiatrist, he can prescribe medication. So see where your head's out. Talk to the therapist. See if it's helping you. If it's not helping you, then go to the next step and look for a psychiatrist, because a lot of people are dealing with underlying mental issues and they've never been treated for it. They were always able to hide it from the family. So that's like a huge thing with me, because nobody ever comes out and deals with this stuff. You know, this stuff that sits and rots and festers and takes you right back to where, you know, you started. And, you know, another rehab, another, you know, detox, another rehab, another IOP, another GOP. You know, I'm not going to meetings. You know, when they say 90 meetings in 90 days,
It's a reason for it. Yeah.
it works if you work it.
Yeah.
Like, take the suggestions.
Get you in that routine of
Ex-
going to meetings and listening, and, you know, open your ears and shut your mouth. You know, you don't have to go into the first week or two and say, hey, me, I did this. Me. It's just like, just listen. All you got to do is just listen. You're going to I picked up stuff that I went, wow, yeah, that's true. And wow, never thought of that. And not that I knew it all, because I knew nothing.
Right.
But one learns. And then as one feels comfortable that they could share, then you could say something. You know, it doesn't have to be not anything fantastic, because everybody's been there and done that. You know, my story is not, you know, going to be a movie. Going to make a movie out of it, and just
I
like
bet you
everybody
could.
else. What? Oh,
I bet you could.
Yeah, probably a comedy. Yeah, yeah. Monty Python and Larry. Yeah.
And a lot of people sit there and they think what they're dealing with is this big, and they start going to meetings and they start hearing stories, they start doing, and they realize that, oh, it's not a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
I made it more than it should have been.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that's why you get therapy, because, you know, what you think is mounting and such a big thing is
Yeah.
not a big deal. You're
Yeah.
just making it
Yeah.
more
you
than it
surprise
is.
yourself. Like, wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm not that fabulous, and my story's not that unique, you know. And I can pick up and I can understand now. Other people are the same, you know, basically the same road I have, you know.
Pappy says, "Life of Larry's." Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, like Blockbuster Video. You know what happened to them?
But I mean, it's. I mean, we have to take care of ourselves, because we cannot take care of them if we are sick ourselves. We can't. That's the most important. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to reach out for help. And if you're scared that you're going to run into a neighbor, guess what? They're struggling just as much as you are. And you know what? When you're having the worst morning, trying to get up and get moving, that neighbor could be there in seconds having coffee with you, tea, milk, whatever your drink of choice is in the morning. And just to be able to vent and get it out and be heard is just very uplifting and helpful to get it out. We have 15 minutes left. Boy, that went really fast
Yeah,
tonight.
that's good. Yeah, talk about, like, you're afraid of seeing that certain person. When I started going to meetings, you know, in my neighborhood, it was like,
Do you want more
there's
water?
people I knew from, you know, my childhood and growing up and all, and like, you're that too? And, you know, it's always like pointing the finger at each other, like,
Right.
you? Well, I can't believe it. And believe it, because pretty much did all the same kind of partying, same kind of heavy drinking, and
And for the most part, especially especially if it's if you're dealing with a child or what have you. The neighbors are going to know well before you would
Yeah.
know. They're watching, it being, handed off, while you're in watching television, cooking dinner or something.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah, they know. Yeah. Do they? Yeah.
Yeah. So, lean on whoever it is. And my biggest thing was, oh my God, if I see that person, I'm going to run them down with my car. I can't believe they got them started with that. Like, was it them? No, I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was going on before that. And if it wasn't that person, it was going to be somebody else. Like that's
Yeah.
what we have to realize. It's going to happen if it's going to happen. And maybe it's your loved one that got them started. Like, you just don't know. And the best defense for us is education and support, as well as our loved ones.
Yeah.
Getting the education into our loved ones is going to be difficult because they don't want to hear it until they're ready to get better.
Yeah.
And that's
Been
the
there,
bottom
done
line.
that. Yep. I didn't want to hear it till I wanted to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to hear it all the time.
Exactly.
And I reach out and say, "Help me."
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll help you, but you got to do something too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it takes work on both ends. Both sides of the track has to get the help because it's a family disease. And if you are a friend that is supportive and wants to be there for your person, that's where your help is. That's you let it, those that want to help you, mend and get better, let them in. Use them for whatever you need them for, because that's the most important thing that you're going to get is support.
no, that's really good. Yeah, you get that support. Like I said, being alone, that's what did me in the second time too. I mean, being by myself and not reaching out, and even when I was home, after the first DUI and all losing my license, I was home. My children were home, my wife was home, but it was like I was alone. They had nothing to do with me, and I couldn't blame them. Talking to them was virtually impossible, but because I didn't change, because I did not change, and it only took time, matter of time before back I was drinking again, and out the door I went. So,
And that's a hard thing, that this whole isolation thing. Especially when they're the younger generation that's and they're still, like, say 18, and they're still living at home, and they get home and you're like, I don't want to pressure them. I don't want them. I'm not going to ask them to put the trash out because that'll take them right back to using. Like, this is where the recovery house comes in. Sorry, dude. This is life.
yeah.
You take the trash out. Tomorrow you clean the toilets. Like, we can't do that at home because we're thinking and living with our hearts and not our brains. And having them around the people that are going to support them and help them is the most important thing for them. And again, not every house is a good house. Not every house is a safe house. But it's up to our loved ones to find that house. We can give them a list and have them, call whatever. You have to do, just like you getting into treatment, you have to be interviewed to get into the house, because believe it or not, the houses are run by mostly people that are in, recovery. And you're not going to bullshit your way.
Definitely not in recovery house.
No.
You do what they say, or you're out the door.
Yeah.
And you follow
you-
the rules, and recovery's part of it. And learning, it's like learning to live at home again with other people. It's like learning my responsibility, learning take out the trash,
Uh-huh.
learning to clean the toilets, learning to vacuum, clean the kitchen, maybe cook. Well, I didn't cook because, if I did cook, nobody'd be alive in my recovery house. So, I told them I'll do anything else, but I'm not cooking.
Uh-huh. And that's where you have somebody in the house that's a great cook. You have
Yeah.
somebody that loves cleaning toilets. I don't know who the hell that would
Yeah,
be, but
not me.
you know,
Yeah.
especially in a man's one. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it's we have to make sure that we're reaching out and we're getting the support that we need, because that's the most important place for us to be, is where that support is. I can't say how awesome my group is. After COVID, the group got very small, and we're up to 32.
Yeah, we're coming back.
We've got 32.
But you're not there.
Yeah. So, check us out. If you're in the area, Bucks County, check out Living Grins Family Support Group every other Wednesday, from 7 to 8:30.
Yeah, 'cause it's Wednesday.
Yep, this coming
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Pull right into Living Green, the building on your left. We'll be there.
And if you're not in the area, look for, Smart Recovery. Look, smartrecovery.org. They have, I think one of the things there is meetings in their area. You have craft. Check for that.
Blue
Check.
Jeans too. We're on Blue Jeans
We're on
too.
Blue Jeans as well. Go on to my page and you can find the link there as well. But look for Al-Anon, look for Nar-Anon. And it was weird because when I first got started with all of this and I started going to the meetings, the first thing they said, well, here's a meeting tonight. It's a beginner's Al-Anon. Go to that. Well, when I went to there, first of all the slogans were like, oh yeah, right, this is going to help me. Little did I know that they're amazing, and they're the best thing you can do is, memorize the slogans and learn what their meaning is and learn how to live through them. But my loved one's addiction was heroin. So it just didn't fit for me, because everything was alcohol. Little did I know at that point that he was also an alcoholic. So these were things that I'm learning, through all of this. And when you go to these meetings, remember, a substance is a substance. Anything that is mind altering is a substance. So take away, the word alcohol and heroin and meth and everything. It's a substance.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
Right. And look at it in that light. So that it's all can have detrimental endings.
Could kill you. Yeah, period. Yeah.
So
Death is at the end.
yes. And just do your best to get out there and find events in your area. DARA actually has an event coming up on May 11th. They are doing a talk with their community. It is up in the YMC area, and I'm trying to find it. I forget the area that it's in, but I meant to pull it up before I went on the show so that I could have it for you. But DARA is a organization that has people coming up, and they will have 2 speakers, and they're going to be an amazing mother and son. They have both written books. The mother is a congresswoman, and her son is the one that suffers from the addiction. So do your best to check that out. I'm going to try and find it before the end of the show.
That'd
Do
be
you
nice.
want to say anything else, Lar? Do you have anything else to share with our group here?
We only have 5 minutes. Yeah, well, it's May and the weather's changing, so I suggest that in 8 months it's going to be winter. So I suggest you pick up the Hallmark ornament book, so you can start picking them out early. I already
Yeah.
have 3 ornaments, so it shows you how nuts I am. Yeah.
And it's crazy because I just don't want to think about that right now.
Neither does anybody else. Believe me.
I'm sure there's many out there that are still trying to pay off last Christmas and not looking forward to this upcoming, nightmare. But just keep remembering that you need to find that support. That's going to be the one thing that gets you where you need to get a jet. Oh, I can't read that. Get a jet early tonight. Manastatic loves to all. Oh, got a jet. Okay. See you, Eric. Love
See ya.
you. I've been missing you, so you better check in, because I was going to text you last night, but then I was like, oh, it's pretty late. I better not. Eric is such an awesome guy. He really has a lot to offer somebody that is suffering, and he has made it quite clear that he is available to anybody that needs to help. Okay, I found it. It is on May 11th at 6 p.m. It's DARA, Drug Addiction Resource Alliance. It is at the Lansdale YMCA. And the great speakers. And there will be several vendor tables there. There'll be Narcan training there. The Congresswoman is Madeline Dean and Harry Coonan, which is her son. And they both have books out too. So really get out there and check. There will be light refreshments, if I'm not mistaken. But, this is where I learned so much going to these certain events that had the resource tables, that had, the different, you have a Hallmark use disorder.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But this is where I got my education. This is how I found so many tools to help me get better and feel better. So it's in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, by the way. But check it out. We had Andrea Duffy here, Judge Andrea Duffy here. Dara is her baby, and she does so much in the recovery world, and wants to see our loved ones get better instead of, if it's a drug related offense, she tries to get them the help that they need instead of incarceration, because it's help that they need. Incarceration's not going to cure this illness at all. So, of course, if it's something that is with a weapon or bodily injury to somebody, it's going to be a little different, look a little different anyway. But, check that out. Check your rehabs and your government officials, see if they have anything in the area going on, that you can get resources and find out what's going on in your community, to get the education. Check out the schools, see what they're offering for families and those that are addicted. Get the education, find out why it affects the brain, why they keep doing what they're doing, so that you better understand addiction and have better opportunity to find ways to get your loved one through that without, fighting and arguing, and it gets you nowhere. It is 10:30, guys. Thanks for coming in and watching. Thanks, Lar.
Okay. Bob, I hope your laryngitis is doing better.
Yes. Bob will hopefully be here next week without laryngitis. Hopefully I'll see him Wednesday. He is the one that facilitates our family group. So, everybody, I want you to have a great week. If you are struggling for any reason, please feel free to call me, 267-737-8031. I will try and help you in any way I can. And remember, as Pappy says up there, recovery works if you work it. Peace out, everybody. See you next Friday.
See ya.